Hi, and welcome to Houseblend on SCV TV, where mostly Santa Clarita Valley musicians of all kinds come to play their original material. You and I get to know them a little bit better when they join us for conversation. I'm Stephen K. Peoples, your Houseblend host. Thanks for dropping in. In a few minutes, we'll get together with Katie Moffett, whose heartfelt way with a song has won acclaim in fans around the U.S. and Europe, and she lives right here in the SCV. First, though, we're going to get together with a local writer, guitarist, and vocalist who calls himself a contemporary folk singer. His first solo album is titled Walk Till Morning. Here's Tom Renaud, and we're very happy to have him with us.
Thank you.
Welcome to Houseblend.
Thank you.
Well, so locals may recognize you from some of the venues you played around town. Can you give us a quick rundown of places you play in Santa Clarita?
In Santa Clarita, let's see, It's a Grind Coffee House. I played a few times there.
Yeah.
Played on the Art Walk a few times at
We've seen you there,
on Main Street a few times there. Other than that, just a couple of open mics here and there. There's an open mic over at the Church of the Nazarene, open mic, and I've played there. I'll have to play there more in the future. And then I also do just acoustic guitar music, solos, acoustic, just instrumental music. And I've played at a few restaurants around town doing that.
Well,
just sit in the corner and play my instrumentals.
Well, that's good. I hope people pay attention and they don't talk over you all the time.
Well, you're supposed to be providing background music for that, so it's all right.
Okay. Now, you have a really interesting backstory, but let's start off with where you're from originally and how you got started writing and playing.
I'm from New England originally, lived in Massachusetts and Connecticut. That's where I grew up. And I had friends who, we just played the guitar back in the 60s and just progressively fell more in love with folk music, you know, listened to just about everything, rock and roll and the whole gamut early on. And then over time just found myself more and more drawn to the folk tradition. So what I try to do now is write contemporary music that also draws on that tradition stylistically and in terms of my themes as well. Right. So I've been playing the guitar for 40 years now.
Wow. So. How did you come to be a monk in 1980?
Yeah.
Gotta hear this story.
I always thought about a religious vocation. I was drawn to that for many, many years. And I hunted around and thought about various forms of priesthood. Nothing seemed to really fit my life and what I wanted to do, or how I wanted to live. And then I discovered this very unique community. It was a new community. It started in the 60s, actually, a community of men and women, but also drawing on ancient traditions of monastic life. And originally I was drawn to the people themselves, very adventurous, creative, young people, lived in wilderness areas, and I loved that. I loved that contact with nature. And they were trying to cultivate us a renewal of spirituality in our present culture. And so I was very, very interested. A lot of contact with people through being a retreat center as well, so it wasn't like a completely isolated monastery, which I wasn't interested in. So step by step, I just was drawn to this, and finally I got a teaching credential. I had been in the middle of that whole process when I discovered this community, and finally just made this radical decision to go and try this out, and it turned into the next 25 years of my life, basically.
Wow.
I stayed there.
One of the places you lived was Nova Scotia, up in Canada, and that's where you did your first recordings. You hooked up with a folk duo in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
Tell us about that project and what happened to it.
That was a wonderful project. The folk duo is Evans and Doherty, and they're well known in the Maritimes. And they got interested in us through something else we were doing at the time, and they came out to our monastery. We were 7 miles. This monastery the community no longer has. We got surrounded by logging and we had to leave. But at that time, we were living 7 miles out on a dirt road. They brought all their equipment out to us and recorded the album in the monastery, in the library of the monastery, then took it all back to Halifax and added these extra tracks. And it was really a wonderful experience. I got national airplay on CBC radio, had in fact a couple of TV spots. I was laughing with my wife this morning. The last time I was actually on TV was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I had a full monk's habit on. Wow. And I was on CBC program in Halifax. So
all right, well, here on Houseblend, the first song you're going to be playing for us was a finalist in the 2007 Great American Song Contest, right?
Yes.
Was that something that you'd written while you were in the monastic life, or was it from later?
It was in a transition period. I was still a monk, but I was, for many reasons, beginning to think about moving to a new phase of life. There were a lot of things that had happened, and I was in a process of transition. And I took a 7-day retreat on which I wrote many songs. I was in upstate New York, and this was one of the first songs I wrote.
Fantastic.
Yeah, ripened fields of corn, describing going up there and the landscape mirroring what was going on in my life, and this sense of transition and hoping for something new for the future.
Wow, let's hear it. Okay, on House Blend, live, it's Tom Renaud with Ripened Fields of Corn.
New York's Highway 22 travels up through hills and farmers' fields. Burgeoning with rows of corn, heavy with the harvest they will yield. And I am driving northward on a hot and humid day, wondering what lies ahead along my spirit's way. May the future hold a pledge of life reborn, like these ripened fields of corn. Storm clouds have been gathering, drifting in from distant troubled shores. Laden with the rainfall, lightning that will flash through heaven's floor. I feel the weight of water and pent-up cloudy walls, waiting for the moment the rain will break and fall. May the future hold a pledge of life reborn, like these ripened fields of corn. Drought can leave a fertile field, a patch of blowing dust, praying for a change in wind and trying to live on trust. Now I have felt a fallow field stretch across the landscape of my soul. And I have waited for the rain, longed to hear the distant thunders roll. May the future hold a pledge of life reborn, like these ripened fields of corn. May the future hold a pledge of life reborn, like these ripened fields of corn.
Tom Renaud on House Blend with Ripened Fields of Corn. It was a finalist in the 2007 Great American Song Contest. It's also one of the tunes on his first solo album, Walk Till Morning. I'm Stephen K. Peoples, your House Blend here on SCV TV, and we're back with Tom in the studio. Now, Tom, you got married in 2008. You gained a stepson in the deal. Tell us about that. And well, let's rewind a bit. You left the monastic life in 2005, and what was behind that decision?
The community, actually, to be honest, the founder of the community is still alive. It was, as I said, a new community. It turned out that the founder was not who we thought he was in many ways, and that sent just reverberations to the whole community. There was a long process of soul searching on everybody's part who was there. The founder left, and So everybody started to just look at the leadership, everything, and all this, and questioning, each of us, I think, questioning, where do we go from here? So I took, I felt led, I felt the next step for me was to take a leave of absence from the monastic life. So I came to California at that point, and because I had my teaching credential, I was able to just pick up and teach again.
Right,
I teach special education. And so I took a year's leave of absence, and in the course of that, I decided that I would not return to the monastery.
Okay, and then California, you were here and met your wife, future wife here?
She was a teacher at the same school as me, and so we get to know each other and as friends, and then I just discovered she was one of the most amazing and wonderful people I ever met, which I would hope a husband would say about his wife. But truly, I've met thousands of people, and she just struck me as an extraordinary woman, so I felt very, very blessed. And my stepson, Evan, who's now 10 years old, is just a fantastic, delightful, wonderful child. So I feel extraordinarily grateful to have both of them in my life now.
Your new album, Walk Till Morning. Yeah. We're going to hear one more song from it?
Yes, one of the songs, I probably have almost a whole album now about my wife. And this is one of the songs I wrote. It's called Finally Found. Finally Found. Finally Found, yes.
All right, on House Blend, we're going to hear Tom Renaud with Finally Found.
Finally standing on fertile ground, finally planting, finally found, finally learning my own heart's sound, finally listening, finally found. Finally breathing air above ground, finally moving, finally found, finally knowing I will not drown, finally feeling, finally found, finally found. Finally found. There's a love that wraps around me, a hope that won't go down, a long lost light of freedom finally found. Finally grateful when morning comes round, finally living, finally found. But then in a minute everything's new. I never planned on the wonder of you. Finally found, finally found. There's a love that wraps around me, a hope that won't go down, a long lost light of freedom finally found. Finally found, finally found. There's a love that wraps around me, a hope that won't go down, a long lost light of freedom finally found.
Santa Clarita Valley's Tom Renaud on House Blend with Finally Found. It's from his first solo album out now. It's called Walk Till Morning. I'm Stephen K. Peoples, and we'll be back with Katie Moffat on SCV TV's House Blend right after this short break.
Slips under the cover, reaching for her new friend. First touch in the morning.